The Tonberry is one of the most iconic monsters to come from Final Fantasy. To those who do not recognize it, the Tonberry is a small, unassuming, even cute creature, but those who know what it is recognize it as one of the most dangerous monsters in the series. The mythical and historical inspirations for the Tonberry are unclear. Both Japanese and Western cultures are rife with stories about spectral flames and angry ghosts who seek vengeance against the living. The phenomenon Onibi are ghost lights said to be the spirits of the dead who have become flame, and beings like the Onryo and Goryo are said to be the vengeful ghosts of the dead. In Western culture there is the will-o'-the-wisp, fire said to be wandering spirits. One story for the origin of the jack-o'-lantern says that a man named Jack was barred from entering heaven and had convinced Satan to not take him to hell, so his spirit was left to wander the world of the living using a lantern to light his way. Beyond these general myths, there seems to be no specific inspiration behind the Tonberry's powers and appearance. One possible candidate is the Sea Monk, or Omibozu. They are spirits that appear as indistinct black heads with glowing eyes and sometimes wearing a monk's robes, but otherwise they are said to appear to ships at sea to attempt to sink them and are massive in size, so their connection to the Tonberry is dubious. Tonberries also resemble Kappa, water demons who were childlike stature and had smooth, slimy skin. But the Tonberry is not closely associated with water and they do not have shells as Kappa usually do. It is entirely possible the Tonberry is an original design, drawing from myths and legends of vengeful spirits and ghostly fires, without being based on one in particular. Tonberries are depicted as small, lizard-like creatures with smooth green heads, yellow eyes, and wearing a dull brown robe. A Tonberry carries two things with it, a lantern to light its way, and a large, sharp knife. While this general depiction varies little, there are a couple inconsistencies. There is no pattern to which hand the Tonberry carries its lantern and knife in, and it is largely random between games. In some games, the Tonberry seems to be wearing shoes or some sort of foot covering, but in other games it goes barefoot. The Tonberry's behavior in battle is fairly consistent across the series. Tonberries slowly walk towards the party and counter attacks with Karma, also known as Grudge. Karma deals damage depending on how many enemies the target has killed through the game, but sometimes it only deals damage for the number of Tonberries they've killed. When the Tonberry gets close enough to the party, it attacks with its knife. This attack is variably known as Cleaver, Knife, or Chef's Knife, and either does massive damage to the target or instantly kills them. Tonberries made their first appearance in Final Fantasy V as an enemy in History Falls. They do their typical behavior of approaching the party and using knife, but they lack their Karma ability. In Final Fantasy VI, Tonberries are fought in Umaro's cave. They receive what could be a prototype of their Karma ability, Traveler, which deals damage dependent on the number of steps the party has taken. When attacked, they counter with Knife and follow it up with Traveler. A chest in Umaro's cave pits the party against three unique Tonberries, who cannot use Traveler but instead use Holy. In the cave to the ancient castle, the Master Tonberry attacks from a chest. This variant uses Barrier Shift to shift its elemental weaknesses and attack patterns, and can also use the Knife and Traveler combo. In Final Fantasy VII, Tonberries were intended to be fought in the Northern Cave in the first visit, but the area in which they would have appeared has enemy encounters disabled, so they can only be fought in the battle square. Tonberries use the attack Time Damage, which damages a target depending on the time the player has played the game, and their Knife attack is an instant death attack. The Master Tonberry appearing in the northern crater at the end of the game behaves similarly, but instead of time damage it uses Everyone's Grudge, the first appearance of the ability, which deals damage dependent on how many monsters the target has killed. In Crisis Core, there are many varieties of Tonberry, including the Master Tonberry, Holy Tonberry, Tonberry God, and Tonberry King. Stronger Tonberries are able to teleport closer to Zack when using Kitchen Knife. A mission chain awards Zack the key item Tonberry's Knife, which adds the Tonberry to the Digital Mind Wave as a portrait in Chocobo mode. Its Digital Mind Wave attack is Murderous Thrust, which deals defense-ignoring damage to a single enemy. In Final Fantasy VIII, the Tonberry appears in the Central Ruins and in Ultimecia's castle. They once again counter attacks with everyone's grudge and use Chef's Knife to deal massive damage to a target when they get close. After approximately 18 to 24 Tonberries have been defeated, the party will encounter the Tonberry King. It uses knife attacks that act like everyone's grudge, and counters attacks with junk, summoning random items to fall on the party's head. When the king is defeated, the party receives the Tonberry Guardian Force, the first time the Tonberry has been a summon. As a GF, Tonberry has no junction abilities, but powerful support abilities. Its summon skill, Chef's Knife, deals non-elemental damage to a single enemy. In Final Fantasy IX, Tonberries appear in Ibsen's castle, usually in trios. They slowly approach the party and use Knife or everyone's grudge when they get close enough. Knife deals 9999 damage, and the Tonberry then flees the battle, while everyone's grudge does damage based on the number of Tonberries killed, so typically it is very weak. In Final Fantasy X, Tonberries appear in the Cavern of the Stolen Faith. When they get close, they use Chef's Knife to deal massive damage. If faced with an Aeon, the Tonberry will use Voodoo, conjuring a doll of the Aeon and stabbing it for damage. When the player has captured one of each fiend in the Cavern of the Stolen Faith for the monster arena, they can face the boss Dawn Tonberry, which behaves just like its lesser brethren. In Final Fantasy X's sequel, a new variant, the Mega Tonberry, appears in Via Infinito. Its Karma damages a character's HP and MP by half, and Chef's Knife deals massive damage. Final Fantasy XI marks the first time Tonberries have been given significant backstory and lore. 10,000 years ago, the Zilot found a number of their people lacked their typical telepathic abilities and exiled them into the wilderness, and they became known as the Kulu. The Kulu built cities of their own until the Zilot subjugated them and destroyed their cities. When the Zilot attempted to open the gates of paradise to become gods, they devastated the world of vana'diel, and the Kulu fled into the ruins of their cities. Over time, the intense hatred they felt to the Zilot and the magical fallout from the incident twisted them into Tonberries. Tonberries use their signature Everyone's Grudge and the stronger Everyone's Rancor. Both deal damage depending on how many Tonberries the player has killed, making them extremely dangerous to a well-traveled adventurer. As with other summons and recurring monsters, Final Fantasy XII uses Tonberry as the call sign of an airship, the Aircutter Remora that is the boss of the game's prologue. In the sequel Revenant Wings, Tonberries are a rank 2 non-elemental summon and also a normal enemy. Their normal attack Knife damages an enemy and inflicts stamina down, and their special attack Karma does damage based on the number of enemies the target has killed. Enemy Tonberries have red skin, a unique trait in their many variations across the series. In Final Fantasy XIII, the first Tonberry the party faces is in Mission 34. The mission is set up as a battle with a Seath, Zenobia, but as it appears, a Tonberry stabs and kills it, and the Tonberry becomes the party's target. The Tonberry's only offensive attack is Knife, but as the fight wears on, it will use grudge attacks of escalating power, granting it higher and higher stat boosts and resistance to status ailments. Later, in Mission 41 in Titan's Trials, the player is pitted against 3 Tonberries at once. Tonberries reappear in 13.2, using a variant of their strategy in the first game. As the battle wears on, the Tonberry's knife attack upgrades and deals more and more damage, and it eventually uses Ultimate Grudge, which deals a fixed 66666 damage to the party. Tonberries in Final Fantasy XIV take cues from Final Fantasy XI for their backstory. The ancient city-state of Nim was laid low by a destructive plague called the Green Death that mutated its people into Tonberries. The Tonberries make the Wanderer's Palace their seat of power, and their hatred of other races is encouraged by the Tonberry King. The Tonberries patrol the palace in set paths and can use their signature Chef's Knife, and the Tonberry King is able to use Everyone's Grudge. When the adventurer defeats the Tonberry King, the Tonberry race becomes docile to outsiders. Tonberries also feature prominently in the Scholar questline, as the Nim were the only ones able to use the magic associated with the Scholar class. In Final Fantasy XV, Tonberries can change between aggressive and passive modes, which tell if they are avoiding the player or seeking them out. They can use physical attacks that deal massive damage, and can also use fire attacks from their lanterns that inflict the burnt status. The stronger Sir Tonberry and Master Tonberry fight quite differently. Unusually for Tonberries, they wear the hoods of their robes up, and surround their knives with ores of purple fire to use devastating long-range combo attacks. This is widely considered to be a reference to Yoda from Star Wars, or perhaps Mickey Mouse from Kingdom Hearts, due to the Tonberry's diminutive stature and acrobatic fighting style, and the ore around their knives resembles a lightsaber. Tonberries appear in many other Final Fantasy games, variably as an enemy or summon. They've appeared in Tactics Advance, Tactics A2, Crystal Chronicles, Dissidia, VIII, and Chocobo's Dungeon. In Final Fantasy Type 0, Class 0's commander Kurasame saved the Tonberry's life and befriended it, and it now serves as his assistant, wearing a variant of Tonberry robes that incorporate Academia uniform aesthetics. If the player calls in support from Kurasame and he is not available, his Tonberry will appear instead, making this the first and so far only time that a Tonberry will join the party, though it is an AI-controlled guest character. In Final Fantasy Record Keeper, Tonberries are the bosses of the Northern Cross Nightmare Dungeon. Before the Nightmare bosses were overhauled and simplified, the battle consisted of the player fighting waves of Tonberries that slowly approached the party. They stood on colored circles that increased their vulnerability to certain statuses that could slow their advance. The closer the Tonberries got to the party before they were killed, the more damage the Tonberry King will deal when he enters the battle. In the anime Final Fantasy Unlimited, a monster based on the Tonberry is summoned by Kaze, using the Soil Charge Triad Horizon Gold, Arrow Black, and Photon Silver. The monster, Meteor Master, resembles a Tonberry but attacks by creating a meteor shower. That concludes our look at the Tonberry in Final Fantasy. Thank you to everyone for watching, and thank you to all the players whose gameplay footage was utilized. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and share it around to help me generate traffic. There will not be a poll for the next lore Final Fantasy video, as I have another video I want to work on, but it'll be just as good and informative as this one, so subscribe to stay up to date on what it is and when it'll be out.